So, about 24 years ago, right about this time, Bonnie and I had been married for a couple years, and we were in the midst of buying our first house. How many of you can remember your first experience going out to buy that first house? That's where we were. We searched, we looked around, we found something we really liked, and we signed on the dotted line. Now, normally when you do that, a little bit later, you have your closing, and then you move in. But we found what we wanted, we found what we liked, we qualified, we did all that, we signed on the dotted line, and then we had to wait, and wait, and wait some more. See, the folks that we were buying a house from were building a new house, and their house was not quite ready. So we worked out a deal where we were renting back to them their house before it's ours, and we didn't quite know when we were going to get in there. It was excruciating, at least for me. I just could not stand it. Anytime anyone, anywhere would ask me how I'm doing, what am I doing, what's up, what's going on, it was something, words. I'm ready to move. I want to move. Believe me, within about 2 weeks, everybody that I knew that we had bought a house and we were getting ready to move, but we weren't moved yet, and I was anxious to move. Everybody knew. Everybody knew. And it seemed like every day was just this exquisite form of torture, waiting. Not waiting particularly well for that big day. Nothing else mattered to me. That's where my head was. Bonnie's back there smiling. That's where my head was. My body may have been living in the present, but my head was there. I was planning how we were going to move. I was planning where we're going to put furniture. I'm planning how I'm going to relax in my new home. My head was there. I was somewhere between annoying and really annoying to pretty much everybody I knew, because that's where I was. Today's scripture that we have as we continue in the book of James has something to say, not so much about where we're living, but really when we're living. When we're living. Let me read for you, and follow along if you will on the screen, or open up your Bible. James chapter 4, we're going to read 13 to 17. Now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow, we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on a business, and make money. Why, you don't even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast in your arrogant schemes. All such boasting is evil. If anyone then knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is sin for them. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So, in the early 2000s, there was a sitcom. Does anybody here recognize, do you remember watching the sitcom Scrubs? There was a sitcom called Scrubs. It was set in a hospital wing here, and you had these young interns who were learning how to be doctors, interacting with their doctors, the nurses, the staff. It was a sitcom. It was wild. It was sometimes very quirky. It was a crazy thing that I liked for various reasons. In one episode, the main character, JD, is wrestling with the difficult things. It's a sitcom, but they still tackled some tough stuff now and then. JD is wrestling with his emotions because he sees a patient, one of his favorites, a woman that he has seen a number of times, sees her struggling in the hospital because she's on the heart transplant list. And then as the show unfolds, he's wrestling even more as she ends up dying. Now, in the death scene in this sitcom, it was treated in an incredible way, at least to me. It really struck me. You picture a hospital and you think hospital bed, hospital curtains, hospital poles and wires and bells, etc. Very sterile, kind of cold, angular. That's not what they showed. They had the hospital setting, but the lights came down, and here, rather than Elaine, the patient, lying in bed and having just passed away, and lying there lifeless, the scene unfolds towards kind of this imaginative thing where she is standing next to the bed, dressed in a bright red evening kind of dress, and she's singing this really soulful song, and joined in by other characters in the show as all of them are wrestling with some kind of difficult thing in their lives, wrestling with some kind of emotional struggle. The song that she's singing is called Waiting for My Real Life to Begin. And that had been kind of a theme, and she's waiting for her heart. Everything was on hold until she would get her new heart. She sings this song, I'm Waiting for My Real Life to Begin. It's a song written by Colin Hay. I'm not going to sing it, but the words are, any minute now, my ship is coming in. I'll keep checking the horizon. I'll stand on the bow, feel the waves come crashing down on me. And you say, be still, my love. Open up your heart. Let the light shine in. But don't you understand? I already have a plan. I'm waiting for my real life to begin. When I woke today, suddenly nothing happened. But in my dreams, I slew the dragon, and down this beaten path, up this cobbled lane, I'm walking in my old footsteps once again. And you say, just be here now. Forget about the past. Your mask is wearing thin. Just let me throw one more dice. I know that I can win. I'm waiting for my real life to begin. Any minute now, my ship is coming in. I'll keep checking the horizon. I'll check my machine. There's sure to be that call. It's going to happen soon, oh so very soon. It's just that times are lean. And you say, be still, my love. Open up your heart. Let the light shine. Don't you understand? I already have a plan. I'm waiting for my real life to begin. On a clear day, I can see for a long way. On a clear day, I can see for a long way. Our text in James is pretty clear, thinking ahead. Our text is pretty clear in the first part, 13 to 14a. Listen, you who say, today or tomorrow we'll go this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business and make money. Why, you don't even know what will happen tomorrow. We don't really know what will happen tomorrow, do we? We may have plans, and we may have dreams, and we may have expectations, and sometimes the thing that we expect and that we're hoping for and that we're looking to does happen. But not always, right? Not by a long shot. I'm sure that every one of you here can relate. One day you're planning for the next day. You're planning for an ordinary day, or you're planning for something special, only to have it all snatched away in the blink of an eye. Still, so many people spend so much time looking to tomorrow and beyond. It consumes their today. They spend it looking to tomorrow and beyond, waiting, in the words of the song, for their real life to begin. Waiting for that special moment or thing, waiting for that new beginning, waiting for that season when everything is going to be different, better, more wonderful, more spectacular than it is now. This kind of thing, looking ahead like that, really our head and our heart completely ahead, can happen to anyone, and it happens to us at different times in life. It's not just something reserved for this time and we grow out of it. Almost anyone can find themselves suddenly not in today, but in tomorrow and beyond. Almost anyone can find themselves there. We find ourselves there for all kinds of reasons and all kinds of ideas and goals. Young people there, maybe I can't wait until I'm 16, then I can go, then I can get around. Maybe as soon as you turn 16, though, what's next? I can't wait until I turn 18. It will be so much different. I'll tell Mom what I really think about doing all these chores. Good luck with that, by the way. Things will be different when I'm an adult. I'll be in charge. Of course, like crammed into there, some people, the thing that they're looking forward to and all they can think of is consuming them. I can't wait until I graduate high school. I'm so done with this. Or after that, it's I can't wait until I'm 21. Then I'm an adult. Woohoo! Or just wait till I'm done college. I am so tired of books and professors and people telling me what to do. I want to get on to real life. Real life is that first job or marriage or maybe that first house, children. Of course, does it stop there? No. Once people get to there, what's next? Well, then it's a new job that's better than the job they had before. It's a new house that's bigger than the one before. This one's got a pool. Well, if we can't think of something for ourselves, some people start living in the future and they invest themselves in the future and everything there, not for themselves, but they start to live vicariously through their kids. And so maybe the thing that catches us and we're all about and takes all our focus and all of our energy is the grandchildren and what they're doing, or the kids and what they're doing, their successes and their championships and their accolades and their graduating and then them getting married and them having kids, and it just goes on and on until what's the last thing you can think of? Oh boy, I can't wait until I get retired, then I'm going to really live. Is that how it works, Jeff? Man, a day, no more punching that time clock, then I can live. Then you get the honey-do list, but I don't want to break that bad news to anybody that's really focused there. Almost anyone and everyone can have that kind of thing they're looking for, that they are looking for, so focused, it just consumes them and it occupies everything. Almost anyone can deal with it. For those that seem prone, it seems like there's always something more too. It's not just that you go through this phase like, oh, I've arrived, I turned 16. If you're looking forward and you're consumed by that, probably there's something else after that. What is the next thing? It seems like if we're consumed by living in the future for what's coming next, we have this goal, and as soon as we get to that one, we go for another one, and then there's another one, there's another step after that, and on and on. And after a while, you have to ask yourself, okay, what is it that I have to do, or where do I have to get? What do I have to accomplish so that I can feel good about life, and so that life feels full or easy or right or peaceful? It's like this trap that people get stuck in. The second half of verse 14 challenges us to really wrestle with meaning. If you're caught up in this kind of living, this kind of looking ahead, and this kind of life, the second half of verse 14 challenges us to wrestle really with meaning. The first part, why you don't even know what's going to happen, but then it says, what is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Boy, that feels good, doesn't it? Nice, warm, fuzzy. Thanks, James. This is dark stuff. But there's a little truth, isn't there a little truth in that? What is the meaning of life? What's your life? Your mist and vapor? Okay, James isn't writing this to make his listeners and us feel bad. That's not his purpose. Rather, he wants them and we too should think, and we should focus not on how are we living. There's plenty of scripture that talks about how are you living. There's all kinds of things we're supposed to do and not to do that would challenge us in how we're living. And it's not about where we're living. Are you in your mission field? Are you at the right spot? Are you where God wants you to? But the thing that James challenges with this passage here is more like, when are you living? Are you living in the past, the present, or the future? Are you living in the past, the present, or the future? If you're not sure, ask yourself this. Where is your time and your energy and your attention directed? That'll paint a pretty good picture for you, a pretty decisive picture for you about where you're really living. Are you living in the present? Or are you stuck back there? Or you got your head looking so far ahead, you don't know where your feet are? If you consider the gospel reading that Bruce shared with us, gospel reading about counting the cost, and some tough words in there, understand, just for that scripture for today, understand there is a cost. There is a cost for everything we do. There's a cost for how we live. There's a cost for living in the past. There's a cost living in the present. There's a cost living in the future. There's a cost to whenever we are living. So should we plan? Should we plan for the future? Should we prepare at all for the future? Is that what we're supposed to understand? Don't do that. Well, absolutely, we should plan and we should prepare. We should plan and we should prepare to do as God would have us to do. We should equip ourselves to reach all we can. We should plan and prepare for many different reasons. We should give thought to tomorrow. But when our energy and our attention becomes obsessive, or you just get this wrong attitude, when our attitude toward the future makes us dismissive of today, then we have a problem. And then we are living spiritually unhealthy lives. At the very least, we lose perspective about the life that we're living if we're so focused on the future. At the very least, we lose perspective. What we ought to do, and the way we ought to proceed, is given to us really in verse 15. It gives us a pretty strong hint. Instead of yourself like really projected into the future and all our time and our attention and our energy there, what we ought to do is say, if it's the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. That might sound a little confusing. Let me paraphrase that for you. Let me put it to Lancaster County ease. Bonnie was reading her devotions yesterday. She read the scriptures. This reminds me of something my grandfather used to say, and I just chuckled because my dad said it, my grandparents said it. I'm sure that you probably have somebody in your life that has said these words. We're talking about what we're going to do tomorrow. Hey, I'll see you tomorrow, Patty. Let's get together, have some coffee. And Patty says, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Anybody ever heard that one before? That's my paraphrase. That's the Lancaster ease for verse 15. And that's the attitude that we need to have when it comes to where, or more specifically, when we're living. It's, okay, tomorrow, but really it's God's discretion about living tomorrow and what will happen and what will take place tomorrow. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. When our perspective is really off about this idea of when we're living in the future, living in the present, when we're too much ahead and not enough in the present, at worst, we're not just forgetting God unconsciously. No, consciously we are dismissing God and putting ourselves in the place of God. We start to think that we are the sole masters of our fate, and that I can have what I will have. I can will what I will, and things are going to be my way. This is it. This is the way that it will be. No questions asked. We start getting our perspective that off kilter, that out of whack, that disregarding of God. I think that we start to look an awful lot like the rich fool that Jesus talks about in the parable of the rich fool in Luke 12:13-21. How many of you know the parable of the rich fool? You have a man here, he had so much goods, he didn't know what to do. What in the world here? He dug up his sweet potatoes and he had more than he could eat. He picked the corn and he had more than he could put in the fridge. I mean, just everything that he had in abundance and excess. What do? I'm going to build bigger barns and I'm going to store it up, and then, man, I am going to have a good time. I'm going to sit back. He just had so much that he didn't have to think about it. He didn't have to worry about a thing. It really struck me here, and I'm thinking about this passage here. How many of you here have probably shouldn't raise your hand, but I'll know just by looking at you. How many here have gone down to wherever you go there and taken out a little chance on that like $1 billion lottery or the $500 million? Boy, what could I do? I'd be set up. Winning that $500 million lottery or the $1 billion lottery or whatever, that's the way this guy was. He had it all. He had abundance. He had excess. He had so much he didn't have to think about. And what did he do? He built up these barns so he could sit back, and God says to him, look, you fool, this night your life is demanded from you. You don't get anything. When we lose our perspective so badly, we're not just dismissing God, but we're like actively dismissing. We're not thinking about it, we're just dismissing Him. We essentially put ourselves in the place of God to determine our path and our future and our tomorrow. That's like the worst case scenario. Now this parable too, it's not to say that we shouldn't plan and prepare or we risk God taking it all away. Okay, that's not the point I want you to take away from this. Rather, we need to plan We need to prepare. We need to live. We need to live this day. We need to live today with God and for God. What would that man's life have been like if he would have said, man, I've got so much I don't know what to do with. Who can I help? How can I honor God? See, there's a good plan, and there's a good prepare, and then there's the other kind. So don't from that parable take you shouldn't plan or prepare or God's going to strip away whatever you have. No, it's not what I'm going about. What I want you to see in that parable is that we need to be living today for God. We need to be living today with God, not stocking it up for ourselves so that we can live fat and easy for the rest of our lives with not a single worry. See, today is all we have for sure. Today is all we have for sure. Boasting about tomorrow does no good. In fact, James 4:16, following through, James calls it evil if we're boasting about tomorrow and our big plans, what am I going to do? Because you don't have any control and you don't understand about tomorrow. Verse 17 finishes up, if anyone then knows the good that they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is a sin for them. What am I getting at with this passage today? What am I getting at? Simply this. The only good that you can do is what you do today in the present. Don't be so eager for tomorrow. Don't be so eager for tomorrow that you miss today's blessings, that you miss today's opportunities. Don't be so focused even on seeing God in the future that you miss Him in the present. I'd like to close this morning with a poem by Helen Malcott. I was regretting the past and fearing the future. Suddenly, my Lord was speaking. My name is I Am. He paused. I waited. He continued. When you live in the past, with its mistakes and regrets, it is hard. I am not there. My name is not I was. When you live in the future with its problems and fears, it is hard. I am not there. My name is not I will be. When you live in this moment, it is not hard. I am here. My name is I am. This moment, right now, is the only one that you have to know God, to serve Him, to love Him. Don't waste it by looking by it.